Hey everybody, my name's Chris. Welcome to my channel. In my last video, I captured the Crescent Nebula while I was out camping for a night. The image I was able to produce from 2 hours of data was much better than anything that I'd been able to capture before. And the thanks to that, I think, goes largely to the ASI294MC Pro camera. I still have a lot of use for my Nikon, especially running it piggybacked off of my telescope mount. But in terms of using a camera as a main astrophotography device, the cooled ASI dedicated camera wins hands down. No contest. For the past month, I had been trying to capture the witch's broom, NGC 6960. This is the western veil of the Veil Nebula. It is a fairly dim target to capture, at least for my 6-inch scope, especially so in a suburban backyard with Bortle skies. But the conditions for the past month have been worse than usual. As you may have heard, there have been some substantial forest fires happening in northern Quebec and Ontario. And these forest fires have been wafting smoke and haze across the skies in the eastern United States and Canada. I live in southern Ontario, which is pretty much directly in the path of all the smoke. So much of the past month, unfortunately, has been very hazy. And when it wasn't smoke, it was high humidity. Humidity has reached 80% average, I would say, most of the nights that I'd been out observing. And if it wasn't that, then it was a full moon, or nearly full moon. So I had a lot to contend with. For all of my attempts at capturing this nebula, I was only able to get 4 solid nights worth of data that I could use. Now, taking it back a step, this nebula is very dim for my scope, and trying to capture it at 120 gain just wasn't working for me. I could not make out anything, even when stretching the image past any point of reason. So I switched my gain to 240, which in turn made the sky very bright. So it's a trade-off. I got a little bit more of the nebula, but the sky was brighter. And with the brighter sky came the issues of haziness and glow of the stars, pretty much amplifying the high humidity and smoke that was in the air. Nevertheless, I tried to persevere, and in the end I was able to capture 200 frames at 3 minutes each, or 10 hours of data. And even with that, I was just barely able to process the nebula itself. In addition to the smoke and weather conditions, I also ran into a problem with my laptop. This is the third laptop in the past year where I've had my battery expand and I've had to replace it. In my other 2 laptops, I managed to catch this before the frame was permanently bent. Unfortunately, with my astrophotography laptop, the frame was a little bit flimsier. Long story short, I had to replace the battery before I could continue using the laptop, just to be on the safe side. If you haven't done this before, it's a fairly simple process, and you should do it as quickly as you can once you notice the battery expanding, so that your case doesn't warp permanently. Now, shooting at 240 gain with a brighter sky background, I think also exasperated another problem that I hadn't really noticed before, and that was a halo appearing around the edges of my image. I can't really tell what the halo is coming from. It could be from light refracting from inside the optical tube. Flat frames were not doing anything to remove it. And at one point, I thought this might be due to light refracting off of the dust on my lenses, as I had not cleaned those in a while. But after cleaning my lenses, I was still getting the halo, which you can see in this exaggerated image out of Cyril. Nevertheless, I managed to capture enough data that a lot of the halo could be edited out and kind of evened out in post-processing. but if you look closely, you can still see it in my final image. I used to use a light pollution filter when I had my Nikon D5200, as my light pollution filter would screw on to the end of my T adapter. But since going to the cooled camera, I don't have a filter that I can put in place. So this experience might finally push me to getting a filter tray. I'm planning to go to a star party in southern Ontario. According to the website, it's one of the top 10 star parties in the world. Since I'm new to astrophotography and astronomy in general, this is going to be my first star party, and I'm quite excited. I wasn't sure where astrophotography would take me, so last year I picked up a power bank and a solar panel to charge it with. Now luckily Starfest does have hydro connections, and I should be able to charge my batteries during the day, if not being able to run my scope off of hydro at night. However, it would be great to field test all of my equipment in a real scenario. Now, there are a number of dark sky locations and dark sky preserves in Ontario, including a few not too far away from where I live. Now, 3 hours sounds like a long way to drive for one night of astrophotography, but I'll be honest, it sounds kind of fun. So to wrap things up, I managed to get 4 nights worth of data, which I processed in Deep Sky Stacker in 4 different tabs or groups. I used darks, flats, bias, flat bias frames in order to try to get rid of any imperfections from my optics. Once again, the halo was still there. I did my post-processing in GIMP, where I worked through a series of layers until I got the picture to a state that I was okay with. Now, compared to the images I had previously taken of the witch's broom, I think this year's image turned out better. But much like my image of the Crescent Nebula, I think I still have a lot of room for improvement. Anyway, if you've had to deal with halos in your astrophotography before, let me know what solution you found. And also, as always, thanks for watching and clear skies.